What's up, everyone? This is another edition of Ghosts in the Machine, and today, as you can see, I have Melanie Trecek-King with me. And well, the reason that you're here is because you're the reason for the subject of this episode, because you sent me an email or like forwarded a link to me saying, "Hey, check this out." And do you remember what it was?
You know, it was right before Halloween, if I remember right. And
Yes.
It was an article in a newspaper. I don't know if I should name names.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Okay, so
I'll just post a picture over the video and we'll go from there.
And it was about how libraries around the country were starting to share ghost hunting kits or buy ghost hunting kits for people to borrow and search for ghosts, and how it was a very uncritical article about how kids could, I think they used the word science in it, which really bugged the poo out of me. So I was like, I need to send this to Kenny.
And you did. And I looked at it and I was like, oh. And I immediately got up out of this chair and drove to the Amherst branch of our library here in New York and asked for it. And they were confused at first because they didn't know that they had ordered them. And I found out after talking to the branch manager that they were in the process of putting them together and that they would be available soon. And they were very nice. I want to make that clear. They were very nice and helpful and told me to come back in a few weeks and check it out. So I did. A few weeks later, I did go back and ask about it and was told, yes, they do have one. It is at the Kenmore branch and it's only there. So you have to go there, pick it up, and then drop it back off there. So I put my name on the waiting list and that came and went. No notification. You showed up yesterday.
Yep.
Right. And today you asked about it and said, hey, what about that? And so I came back here, checked, and it was ready. So we got it.
We got it. Okay. So we have a ghost hunt. We're going to find ghosts now, right?
No.
Oh.
But we're going to review this. So this episode is basically a review of this kit and then talking about our thoughts on it. That's the kit. There's equipment in there. We're not going to open that up yet.
If I might start. So
go ahead.
Like, I love libraries and I am full on in support of anything that will get people to use a library.
Right.
We have concerns about things like this because they are seemingly scientific. They can mislead people into thinking they're doing a science when it's actually pseudoscience. And that's what we're going to explore by looking at the equipment.
Right.
If they just marketed this as a toy, it's a game.
Right.
Not like
something like that.
Can you find ghosts? Can you use science to find ghosts? Then I wouldn't be as concerned about it. But since they did, let's
look at it.
Explore.
Because they do have they have a ghost hunting kit summary of all the gadgets inside here. Then we also have this looks like a tips for more EVP success, which is electronic voice phenomena. Alleged ghostly voices on used to be tape when we used to use cassette tapes.
Hey, old man.
It's funny. People ghost hunters still say, oh yeah, we caught it on tape. And no one is using tape anymore. And then there's tips for using a spirit box, which is basically a broken radio. We'll get into it in a little bit.
So I have spent enough time with you going at the fun ghost stuff to have some sort of idea of what you do, but I am really at a loss what this equipment does. And they seem sciencey. It seems like, it's got batteries and it lights up and stuff. So it must be finding a ghost.
Well, that's what we say. If it blinks and makes sounds, it's a ghost.
And so as someone who focuses on trying to help people not fall for pseudoscience, I would hope in this process, I want you to help me understand what this equipment actually does and why someone might think it's evidence of a ghost.
Okay.
I'll
do my best. There's a lot of information, so I'll try to condense it down.
Can you?
This isn't like a 2-hour video because my boss doesn't like 2-hour videos. Love you, Barry.
Okay. So
all right.
we've opened.
There it is. It's a good case. I'll give them that. It's a nice case. It's padded.
I'm going to randomly pick something out of here.
That's okay.
Okay. This is at the top and it's bright orange. So let's do this.
Randomly. The first item that's on top. So that is a infrared temperature gun. Thank you.
Okay.
It will measure. Let's read the description here. So, infrared thermometer. Thermometers can be a great way to detect temperature changes, which may signify a paranormal presence.
Oh.
Taking temperature readings can also be a great way to find sources for cold spots, in quotes, to debunk or find logical reasons for claims of activity.
Ooh.
So that's actually pretty good. I mean, the first sentence saying thermometers can be a great way to detect temperature.
Yeah.
Can be a great way to detect temperature changes. Yeah, I mean, thermometers do that. Which may signify a paranormal presence.
Okay, I need to stop and ask before we figure out what this does. Why does somebody think temperature changes have anything to do with ghosts?
To be honest, I think it's because everyone perceives being dead as cold. So cold spots became a thing. If you felt cold in an area that you shouldn't be cold, it was thought to be brushing against the afterlife, like the other world, the other side. So a ghost was touching you because they are always represented by like a cool fuzzy mist because they're transparent. They're usually blue. You don't see red ghosts. You don't see orange ghosts. You know, you don't see green ghosts mostly, except for Slimer. You usually see ghosts that they're either white or blue.
So, but if they're supposedly energy, wouldn't they be warm?
What kind of energy?
I don't know. They're using the word.
I'm trying to. Their terms. That's always my response though. Whenever someone in the paranormal community goes, "Hey, they're made of energy," my first automatic response is, "What kind of energy are you referring to?"
But I guess I'm trying to keep a logical consistency to their claims in that if they're made of energy, then why would they be cold?
I don't know. I have no answer for that.
Okay, so the premise here is highly questionable.
Yes. It's just I think it comes down to a basic belief. Usually, like people are buried in the ground, and if they rise from the grave, the ground is cold. The afterlife is for some reason cold. It's always promoted in horror movies as people feel the chills. It's just something that's part of tribal knowledge. You'll see in some movies before an event happened, a paranormal event, their breath gets frosty, or they feel chills, or something like that. So it's something that's ingrained into the pop culture.
So to me, then, if we're critically thinking about these claims, the first thing that I would want to know is why does cold mean ghost?
Yeah.
But if we're going on that premise, this thing measures temperature.
It measures temperature and it also measures surface temperature. It's not reading something that has no physical form. So it reads the infrared energy, which is a thing that's coming off of surfaces. That's what it's reading.
How far away will it go?
So you have to look at the side here. It's 12-to-1 ratio. So I think for every 12 inches, it's reading 1.4 inches. So at 12 inches away, it's reading a circle of 1.5 inches. At 3 feet away, it's reading a circle of 3 inches. And at 60 feet, at 5 feet away, 60 inches, 5 feet away, it's reading a circle of 5.3 inches.
67.2. What temperature is a ghost supposed to be?
Don't know.
Okay.
So the idea is basically if you have the trigger pressed in, so the trigger's in, it will constantly read. You can see it's constantly changing temperature. So it's constantly reading. So as you're doing that and looking around the room, they're looking for a drop. Right now, let's see. This screen is measuring 86 degrees. And then I take it over to the wall. It's 71, 82, 95, 94 outside. But that's hitting the glass across the patio because the window's open. And then if I come back inside here, 71. So it drops 20 degrees from outside window to here. And I think if you're in a building and you point this down the hallway and you see a 5 or 10 or 20 degree drop in temperature, most people go on the belief that, oh, that's something's down there. Something is causing it. And instead of investigating, usually that something is translated into must be a ghost because ghosts are cold. They don't take into consideration how long that hallway is. So again, as we go, if we're 5 feet away from this thing, we're measuring a over 5 inch circle. So if we're down a hall that's 20 feet away, like how large of a circle are we now reading? But if there's a doorway down there, going outside or a window down there, yes, you're going to have a drop in temperature. And you're not going to see that. You're not going to take that into consideration because most ghost hunters see just the hallway. They don't take into account the window at the end of the hallway.
The takeaway for me so far is that if you're a parent and your kid wants to check out something like this, it's a great critical thinking tool, because the question is, well, this is supposedly detecting ghosts because of temperature. First question, why ghosts are cold? Second question, well, if there is a change in temperature, what else could it be?
Yes.
Besides a ghost?
What else could it be? It's got a great little laser pointer.
Okay, so I'm not impressed so far.
Honestly, this is what most ghost hunters play with, the laser pointer. Whee! Pew, pew,
You just need
pew,
a cat.
Pew, pew, pew. Oh. Next.
Okay, next thing we're going to pull out. I don't, we have.
That is, what is that? Oh, that is the recorder. Digital voice recorder.
Oh, this is like one of those things we used to take notes.
Dictation.
Yeah,
like a dictaphone.
I used to have students put it in front of the class and so that they could record me lecturing.
Right. And they could never understand the recording. Because the early models just were horrible. Most of them nowadays are much, much better.
I thought that was a slander at my
no.
mad lecturing skills.
There'll be digital voice recorder. Audio recorders are a handy tool for documenting activity on an exploration. Many ghost hunters and paranormal investigators consider them to be a staple investigation tool for recording electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP.
Okay, what is EVP?
So basically, that is a ghostly voice. You turn this on record. You ask questions. You basically talk to walls.
Oh, can we do that?
Yeah.
Where's the record button?
So we have to turn it on first.
Oh, wow, this is fancy equipment.
All right, it's recording. There we go. Oh, the battery's dying. Okay. So, are there any ghosts here?
Are we supposed to ask yes or no questions?
So you asking yes or no questions is easier, but you can ask any question. But you ask your question according to ghost hunters. You ask your question and then you leave about 10 seconds.
Oh, okay.
So that the ghost can answer you.
And what are common questions?
What's your name? How old are you? What year is it? How did you die?
So why are you here?
Why can't you leave? Can you leave?
Okay, we didn't leave enough time.
Okay. So we can ask simple question. What's your name? Okay, do you want to ask him?
Sure. Why won't you show yourself to us?
If there are any ghosts here, can you do a jump scare right in front of us, between us and the camera? So let's do that. And are there any ghosts here? What's your name?
Why won't you show yourself to us?
If there are any ghosts here, can you do a jump scare right in front of us, between us and the camera? Boom. Okay, so let's. All right, so. Oh, what's that?
He starts. Okay. I'm gonna. It's currently recording. We should go now.
These don't sound like teenagers or anything older. We are totally doing this.
We are totally doing that.
We're going to put a message on there that says, to put this back. None of this stuff works.
So what do people tend to capture on there?
So it really depends on how they're using it. If they're holding it like this, what you have to remember is that the microphones are part of the body, the casing. So if you're holding it, this friction from your fingers, just doing this, will cause little sounds and it will show up on the recording.
Oh, can we do that?
Is there anyone here?
Okay.
Is there anyone here? Okay. There you go.
Did they ever capture voices?
So sometimes these noises are so subtle that you just barely hear them, and that leads people to put it through some kind of software and amplify it. So they filter it, raise the volume, and it distorts the sound. So now because they're looking for a response. They're not looking for noises of friction. They're looking for a response. So you're going to interpret it as somebody answering you.
It's a great example of patternicity.
Yes.
So patternicity is the tendency to perceive non-existent patterns as real and meaningful.
Mhm.
So like if you've ever looked up at the clouds and you see, faces or maybe Jesus and a piece of toast, then right. But you can hear sounds too in a way that that sound like a pattern, and especially if you prime somebody. So
Right.
like if you hear something, you think, well, I think they said this. And then once you hear it, you go, oh.
All right, so this is Future Kenny breaking in because I want to expand a little bit on the term priming that Melanie just used. And in psychology, priming refers to the phenomenon where exposure to a stimulus influences your response to a subsequent stimulus, sometimes even without you knowing. Basically, in common terms, you get set up. So it's common in ghost hunting shows and stuff like that where they play recordings like what we're talking about here, EVPs. And I can't remember a time when they didn't put text up on the screen telling you what it's supposed to say. And once you read that, the first time you hear the noise, you might not recognize it or not hear the words that they want you to hear because you haven't read the text yet. But as soon as you read it, the next or the second time you hear that alleged voice, you hear what they want you to hear. And that's priming because they're telling you what to expect. And I can show you this in practice because you just watched, we did a little recording, a very quick recording. I wanted to demonstrate friction from my hand on a recorder. And I asked the question, is there anyone here?
Is there anyone here?
And the response we hear when we replay it, you hear my fingers moving around. And the first couple noises are very obvious. Then the second noise is not so obvious. And I can take that in context of what we were talking about and tell you, the viewer, if I wanted to, hey, we were talking about kids because kids had left recordings on this actual recorder and that we were talking about them. And when I asked that question, maybe some ghosts that were around actually responded. So if I manipulate the recording, if I take that audio because I think or that I'm expecting to hear something, I can manipulate it, edit it, and do exactly what I said, like increase the volume, enhance it, use filters, whatever. And I can put it up on screen and I can play it for you now. Here. Right there, there's not much. Like you hear some noise, but if I start putting text right here of what it's supposed to say and then play it, you're going to start hearing that. You're going to start hearing what I want you to hear. And that is an example of priming. Kids today. You're asking for a name. If you say, what is your name? That's what you're listening for.
Yeah.
And whatever sound comes over it, they're going to interpret it as a name. They're listening for a George, Karen, Roger, Tim, Dave, Pam, something like that. They're looking for that name. Same with what year did you die? We're looking for a year or a number, any kind of number. How did you die? We're looking for anything.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as saying, I died from a car accident. It could be stairs. If you say stairs, that's automatically interpreted as, did you fall down the stairs? And that's how you died. So in these kind of cases, this and one of the other pieces of equipment that we'll get to, along with the ghost hunter's imagination, they create a narrative. They create the story of how a ghost might have died or communicated or whatever. So they create stories. It's interesting to see the what's happening in their heads, but it's not evidence.
What's missing here again is the alternative explanations.
Yes.
How else might I explain what I'm hearing?
Right.
The conclusion that it's a ghost is an extraordinary one. And we need to do our due diligence to make sure that it's not something else. I see here tips for more EVP success.
So let's learn how to do better ghost hunting recording.
Be aware of your mindset. Do you believe it's possible that you will receive EVPs? Are you entering this session with confidence in your equipment, abilities, and approach? Do you have the belief that if someone wants to communicate, you will capture it? It's okay to be objective and rule out non-EVPs, but it's important to start an EVP session believing that communicating is actually fully possible. Because if you do not believe it will work, do you think entities really want to communicate with you? The right energy and mindset is therefore crucial.
So much wrong with that.
That hurts.
So much wrong.
They're telling you not to be skeptical and think critically.
Right. They're telling you to pretend to believe, even if you don't believe, pretend to believe, but you have to believe first for it to happen. And the idea that because if you do not believe it will work, do you think entities really want to communicate with you? So I would say, well, hell yeah, if ghosts exist, which they don't. I would say that if they did exist and they want someone to hear them, someone that doesn't believe in them would be the best possible route to have some believability, to say, hey, I'm here. Because all the ghost hunters do is post on social media and get other ghost hunters to go there. And people usually charge money to keep, and it becomes a business.
Yeah, I mean, look, if there is evidence, then we shouldn't have to lower our standard of evidence to accept something. I'm
Right.
not sure if I'm saying that right, but this is not how science works. Like, you
Right.
don't start an experiment by saying you have to believe it works, because if you don't, the cells might not cooperate the way that you want them to.
Exactly.
I mean,
this is priming the user, the borrower of this case. Did I say that right? Borrower, or the person that's borrowing this case.
yes.
It's priming them. Make sure you believe that this really works, because that's the only way it's going to work. And that is a big red flag.
Okay, just to put it out there, kids, science does not start with a requirement to believe in it.
Yes. It doesn't care what you think.
It really doesn't.
Or what you believe. It says, we're just going to science. UV black light, flashlight. I mean, usually you take this to the hotel.
I know. I feel like I'm at the start of a Dateline investigation.
Yeah. Ew. UV black light, flashlight. Ghosts, entities, and spirits may be more visible in other light spectrums than the normal narrow range of visible light. UV light appears above violet light in the electromagnetic spectrum. This higher frequency of light is theorized. No, it's not. To attract spirits or even detect spirit manifestations.
Wait a minute. It attracts them, or it's how to measure them?
Like a bug light.
It's a spirit bug light.
It's a ghost bug light. That's it.
Is it like a zapper too?
I wish it would. That's what it says. Theorized to attract spirits or even detect spirit manifestation.
Does it attract or detect? Well,
It's
nevertheless, talk to me about the premise here.
There's been this tribal knowledge thing where when night shot cameras came out, when they first came on board, and like Sony night shot was released, and it was like, oh, holy crap, we can remove the filter and we can see more of the infrared light. Ghost hunters loved it. They sucked it up because they thought ghosts probably live in the infrared spectrum.
Why?
Don't know.
Okay.
Just new technology. It's probably there because we can't see it. And they start using it more. The thing
there,
is,
but we can't see it.
We can't see the infrared light. But when you're talking about like dust particles getting in front of the camera lens, dust particles will reflect infrared light just like visible light. And you'll still get your out of focus dust orb.
Yep.
Shadows, same thing. If you have an infrared light, even though you can't see how it illuminates the hallway, if you walk in front of that, the camera will see it. And it will see it just like it sees visible light being blocked. So it still has the same kind of properties. It's just a different wavelength that we can't perceive. So the idea here is, instead of using infrared, UV is more the now thing. It's more like, oh, well, infrared, everyone uses infrared. Let's use UV. It's completely useless. There's no data to support anything that it says here about attracting or detecting ghosts. There's absolutely no data whatsoever. This is nonsense. It angers me that this information is being put out there with no link to good skeptical information, good reliable scientific information on this and just telling you, hey, there is no data on this.
So what this seems to be saying is that there are things that we can't perceive, which is true.
Right.
And that whatever you use to perceive things that you can't normally perceive is ghosts.
Yes. It goes on the premise of, I don't know, therefore ghost.
That is a prime appeal to ignorance.
Yes. It's exactly it. So we can see this light. So it's still within the wavelength we can see. But it probably appears really bright to the camera. There's lens flare. Also something else that pops up.
We found it.
Yeah. This looks a lot brighter on camera than it does to us. The cameras can see a lot more than we can. The digital camera sensor will pick up. You can see it actually. I can see you shining it on the shelves. Especially the sign and all that. I can see that. But you can also do this simple test with a remote up to the camera. There it goes. Yeah. There it is.
If there was dust in the air, this might go.
That will reflect off of dust just like a regular flashlight, especially because it's within the visible spectrum. We can see the light. It's not invisible to us. But something like this, you can't see the bulb light up, but the camera can.
Okay.
Now you got to turn the light back on.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, the idea is you don't need a UV flashlight. You don't need IR or infrared flashlights or floodlights to enhance the cameras because they use them. They turn the lights out in order to use cameras that are night shot capable and use infrared light and UV light to see in the dark. Turn the lights on. That's all you got to do. Just turn the lights on. There's no reason, unless a story specifically says it only happens in the dark, there is absolutely no reason to turn the lights out.
What have we got in the box next?
Probably some more useless equipment.
Ooh.
What's that?
Something else to unwrap.
The SB7 Spirit Box. Okay, so according to this paper that we're reading off of, a spirit box, or ghost box, is a handheld electronic device used by paranormal investigators to communicate with spirits or entities from the afterlife. They operate by scanning through radio frequencies in real time, creating a stream of white noise and audio fragments. Others detect environmental readings, such as EMF. The idea is that entities can manipulate these frequencies to generate coherent responses to questions posed by the investigator. It is also believed that the white noise generated can provide a kind of fuel for entities to communicate.
That's a lot of if, could, may.
Yeah, there's a lot of assumings there.
Okay, so let's talk about this. How does this doohickey work and under what premise?
So the idea is that you're creating white noise and generating basically audio pareidolia. You're taking these short clips because what it does is it scans through radio frequencies. So FM, AM band. When you usually for those of us that still use radios, when you hit seek on it or scan, it goes through to the next station. It looks for the next clearest station and it locks it in for like 5 seconds so you can hear it, and then it'll go to the next one until you're like, all right, I like this music, and you stop it. What this does is it keeps going. It does not stop. It just keeps going, cycling through all the available stations in either AM or FM. It started with the Radio Shack hack, which was a white radio, and I'll put it up here. And you would go into the circuit board inside and snip one of the connections, and that would prevent it from stopping on the stations. So once you hit seek, it would continue to go through. And this developed into people making actual radios that are broken. That's basically what it is, a broken radio. You listen to it. You ask questions, just like an EVP session. You say, like, what is your name? And you listen for a name and wait for something like that to spit out some kind of snippet of, again, you're getting static and you're getting radio stations. Usually there's a speed selector in there, so you can cycle through faster or slower, but basically you're getting these little snippets of radio stations. So commercials, news broadcasts, and then, I mean, when you're talking about commercials, furniture, sports, services, gas stations, exercise equipment, movies, whatever.
I'm having trouble with that being spirits communicating.
I think the whole premise and most of this equipment being used is based on the idea of anomaly hunting. They're not looking for ghosts. They think they are, but what they're looking for are anomalies, things that are weird that they can't readily explain, even though in most cases they can. Like, we can look at this and say, yeah, it's doing exactly what a radio is supposed to. It's
which is why you have to believe.
Yes, it comes back to that idea that you have to believe that it does something that it's not designed to do.
Do you have to ask it questions?
That's what you're supposed to do.
All right, let's see how this works.
There you go.
Okay. What's your name? Bob. Bob? What year did you die? Oh,
Ooh,
you said something.
That was
I
it.
missed you. Can you say it again?
This is the part where we wait till it goes back around.
Did you catch it?
Something. Yep. Light.
Light. What does light have to?
Choke.
Oh, did you die at a stoplight by choking? I don't think I believe hard enough because I'm not. Okay.
Well, you can see how easy it is though, because you asked what your name is and you get some kind of sounds like Bob. Okay, we'll go with Bob. And then once you say it, I guarantee other people in that group will go, yeah,
that's what I heard too.
That's what I heard.
Okay.
One good test I would suggest for ghost hunters out there to do is, if you're doing this, have everyone write down, like separate them. Have like everyone about 5 feet away from each other and write down your answer. And don't share it. Don't share with each other and then compare afterwards.
You know, juries do that. And there's a reason they do that,
Yeah.
right? You don't want to pollute each other's
Right. You don't want to influence
understanding of the facts or what you may know or bring into it.
Right.
And so, yeah, separate, come to your own conclusions, and then come back later and.
Yeah, because if you have 10 people and all 10 hear something different, it's that subjective interpretation. You're just guessing. You're basically guessing. You know the context of the question. That's also something. Like when I play some of these recordings for people, I take out the question. Now you have no context.
Oh.
It's even more difficult to try to figure out what is being said because you have no context.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Isn't it though? So that's basically what you do. Now we could actually go through and wait until we get a station that comes in a little bit and stop it and go back on that station. Let's actually do that. So
power.
turn it back on.
Sweep forward.
Keep looking at the screen.
What can you tell me about? Oh, okay. So that was like
So we
106
go
point.
back.
Yeah.
Or Seneca Buffalo Creek.
There we go.
Open interviews happen the third Tuesday of every month. Start the process now when you apply at thebest8hours.com.
Okay, what I'm actually learning is Seneca Bank,
Yeah.
not a spirit.
Right. So if ghost hunters would take the time to actually go back, look at the screen, see what station is coming up when they hear what they perceive as an answer to their question, back it up.
Yep.
Go to that station and you'll find that it's actually a station. That's what's playing. And you're hearing a part of that commercial. So that whole commercial that you just heard, take any word from it. Take a part of a word. You don't have to have the entire word.
And then your brain makes the pattern.
Right. Because you are primed to listen to a specific answer. You're listening for a name, for a number, for a day. It said Tuesday, I think.
Okay.
So if you heard that, Tuesday.
You died on a Tuesday.
You're like, oh, there it is. That's proof positive, but it's not.
Also, isn't it fascinating
That's
that
a
all
problem.
ghosts speak English?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like
I mean-
Wars, Star Trek. Actually, Star Trek. Everyone speaks English in Star Trek.
Sure.
Star Wars, no, you have different languages. I mean, Chewbacca, he doesn't speak English
But yet Han Solo understands him.
because he speaks Wookiee.
Are you proud of me?
I am.
Thank you. Okay, there's one more piece of equipment in here. What did we save? Best for last? What is this thing?
That is a EMF meter. So according to the paper, EMF meters measure fluctuations in electromagnetic fields. Theories from within the branch of paranormal investigations. That's making it sound way too like professional.
It does, does not make sense.
It doesn't. Suggest that ghosts have the ability to manipulate these fields. An EMF meter is a staple piece of equipment used to detect sources of EMFs or possible manipulation in order to document and promote potential communication with these spirits.
Okay, so I feel like I have to say this because I personally have sort of mocked this idea of theories here with a couple of times. Just to clarify out there, when scientists use the word theory, they mean it's an explanation that has survived rigorous testing, explains a variety of phenomena, and that is predictive, so that it's useful. As a scientist, if I'm going into the field, like, so I'm an ecologist, foraging theory is a prime example in ecology. Basically, you find animals where their food is.
Okay.
Right? I know that sounds really obvious, but that's what science does, is it collects lots of evidence to make an explanation. Great. If I want to know where, let's say, great horned owls are, I'm going to try to find where their food is.
Okay.
The point is, it takes a lot of evidence to make an explanation that's useful to a scientist and that helps them understand what they're seeing and continually survives testing. When paranormal researchers are using this word, it just means a guess.
It's a slang term. Yeah, it's trying to sound much more important than it is.
Yes.
By saying theory, it's not even a hypothesis because they're not asking a question. They've outright accepted that this can detect ghosts, that ghosts can use this to manipulate fields and all this stuff. So it's an accepted, quote unquote, fact to them, rather than, hey, this is an idea. Let me form a question and test it. They skip that part and go right to, it's a theory, and it's not.
Yeah. So I just want to clarify that. How is this supposedly finding ghosts?
So when you have electrical devices, they give off a electromagnetic field. It's a magnetic field that's produced. So say you have a lamp plugged in.
There's all kinds of electronic stuff here. Should I turn this on?
Yeah, you can turn it on. So the E field is the electric field that's measuring volts per meter. And then this is the H field, which is the magnetic field.
Is this supposed to be going off? I mean, we're right in front of all kinds of stuff. Oh, it kind of is.
So it should go off. If it's reading the electric field.
7, 6, 5. Yeah. All right.
And let's see, unit. That's milligauss. That's most ghost hunters are familiar with milligauss because most EMF meters that ghost hunters use only give you a milligauss reading, or microtesla, which is the magnetic field. Even though it's called an electromagnetic field meter, it doesn't give you an electric field reading. It only gives you the magnetic field that's being measured. Actually, put it up to the fan.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. There we go. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you're getting both.
Why does a ghost put off something that this would measure?
Don't know. My thoughts here are that when Ghostbusters was released in 1984,
okay.
I'm being serious.
I'm sorry.
The PKE meter plus the other little devices, because they had another handheld device that was reading energy, the psychokinetic energy. So that's PKE, psychokinetic energy. The real world equivalent at the time, there was a handheld EMF meter that came out in the 80s. But that was available.
What did it supposedly do? The one in the 80s?
So in the one in the 80s, it read the magnetic field. So again, it gave you a reading off of electrical devices. There's actually real research on this, that high EMF can have an effect on people. So people complain about electromagnetic sensitivity, which I don't buy into, because, I mean, again, we're surrounded by stuff. People work in an office, it's all around us. Yet they have no problem unless it's convenient for them for the most part. But that's the idea. Like they were measuring it and they thought there were health concerns, maybe causing cancer or something like that. So they developed meters for it. And I think they were commercially available to the consumers. And the real world equivalent became the ghost hunting tool. It was like, I see this PKE meter on screen, therefore let me see what I can find in the real world. Oh, here's this object, this meter that reads this invisible energy. I'm going to use this because one of the first ones, and I'll throw this up on screen too, was the Dr. Gals. And it was a cheap meter. And I mean, I had one. I have two of them now, but we had one. This is like the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, and it gave you a 1 to 10 milligauss scale, and that was basically it. Which is nothing. I mean, that's nothing. You saw like the reading on this was in the hundreds, and it also had color coded. Hold on, I gotta get it out.
So these things came out because people at the time thought that they might be causing health issues.
Yes, I think that's when the reason they developed for consumers was that it was a easy way for you to test whether when you slept at night, was your head too close to the alarm clock or a lamp that maybe had a bad wiring or just put out a high electromagnetic field, and therefore don't sleep next to it because that might affect you.
So this entire device is just loaded with pseudoscience.
I mean, it does actually read,
right, but its implications.
The implications in the paranormal community,
or even the health
community, yeah, because there's not enough research to indicate there is a health issue with it.
There's no evidence to support that there is a health issue.
Not that I found. I haven't, because it goes back and forth. You can check the World Health Organization, the papers they have and the information they have on there, and they focus more on industrial environments, so warehouses, work environments and stuff like that, where like working on cell towers or high power lines, where you're going to have a very high field. But for the consumer, the basic household, no, there's nothing. I mean, we're surrounded by this stuff all the time, and there is no adverse effects that we can find, at least that I know of.
I think we let's look into stuff, especially before this gets posted.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, so as you can see, there's a scale, and it's a handy scale because you have a green, yellow, and red section. So
you're going to just take a picture. Okay.
So, but basically the rule of thumb in the late 90s and early 2000s was that if it was between 3 and 7 milligauss, then it could possibly be paranormal activity, because that landed you smack dab in the yellow zone.
But why paranormal? How did we get there? From measuring things that we... Reasons.
That's all I can tell you. Reasons.
Because what we do know is this stuff gives it off.
Yes.
We don't know that spirits exist or give it off.
So the thing is, high EMFs, electromagnetic fields drop off the strength of the field. And that's what this is measuring, the strength of the field, not the frequency that it's on. Okay. It's the strength. How strong is that field? And it drops off significantly the further you get from the source. Okay. So for comparison, take this. We're going to do a little experiment here. I'm going to get this on the mobile cam. This is going to be fun. I can't wait to edit all this together. Hold on to this.
Okay.
All right. So put it onto the fan. Put it up to the fan. All right. So you have the meter up to the fan. Let's make sure. Okay. And we're reading 845.5 milligauss. And as we slowly back away, we can see a drop. Significant. Look, now we're already down 50. 20, 10, 5, 4, 3, and we're good. And we're stopped right there.
How far is that? 3
Let's
feet?
see. 3 feet. We're gonna measure. So that is 33 feet. Yeah, 36 inches, 3 feet.
Okay, so the significance of that for paranormal stuff is what?
So it's just saying that there are high EMFs all around us. If we have a desk fan like that, which is right there, and you're within the 3 feet range, you're getting bombarded with a high EMF. Nothing's wrong with you. You're not hallucinating. You're not seeing ghosts. You're not seeing or hearing ghosts. You're not having any ill effects, because we grew up. I mean, if you have an air conditioner in your house in the window and you're sleeping by it, if you have a box fan, it's going to give off much more. The microphones, the cell phones that we use, all this stuff, we're surrounded by it all the time.
Heating blanket.
I mean, that's just a wire that is heating up because of the electricity that's going through it.
Feels good though.
It does feel so warm.
But I'm struggling to see, like, what does this have to do with ghosts?
So there is a gentleman, Michael Persinger, who did some experiments with solenoids. He had what was called the God helmet.
Oh yeah.
So it was a motorcycle helmet that he had installed solenoids, and he would have certain frequency of EMF going through in a pattern. So it wasn't just laying here with a constant field. It was turning off and on, going through a certain pattern through it. And in some situations, he was able to produce in people the feeling of, they had a feeling somebody else was in the room with them, a presence. Some had an out-of-body experience. Some felt just another presence. Some had a religious experience. And I think actually Richard Dawkins had done it.
I think you're right.
Went through, and he claimed to have, like, he felt
Shermer
a presence.
did too.
So based on that, ghost hunters take that, and again, I'm grouping them all together. So not all ghost hunters are like this. Some don't buy into it, but for the most part, ghost hunters read the headlines. That's it. If they see this experiment, usually the headline would say, scientist proves EMF causes ghosts or induces experiences with ghosts or spirits. You read the headline, and instead of reading the article, what you really should do is go straight to the paper, not the article. And they just assume that EMF will help me see a ghost.
But okay, so I took this completely different, because if I had to come up with an explanation, if I'm a ghost hunter, I just think this measures energy, and ghosts are energy.
That's a simplified version.
Okay.
That is it. Because once again, we come back to the question, like, what kind of energy? You know, because electrical energy is different than just heat energy.
But let's go back to when we say science, when they use words, they mean something. And the definition of energy in science it is
the ability to do work.
Yes. And it's measurable.
Yes.
It's repeatable.
Yes.
And the energy that ghost hunters are using is none of those things.
It is a filler.
It sounds sciencey though.
It sounds sciencey, a little more metaphysical, but it sounds
quantum
sciencey.
Mechanics.
Molecules. I mean, we sound sciencey, but you know, that wasn't science. That was just naming stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's a novelty for us. It does have its uses. It does have a purpose, but it has become one of those things that's more generic, and it's an easy sell because you can fearmonger and say, you know, check your home for high EMFs so you don't sleep next to a clock that gives off 50 milligauss. You don't want to do that.
What I'm getting is that these are gadgets that do something that are being taken as evidence of something that we don't know exists, and we don't even know for sure if these are measuring that. And instead of a critical scientific investigation of trying to find the truth, it is an attempt to confirm what I already wanted to believe.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a easy way to do it. It is so I mean, we look at this list. We have a flashlight
Yep.
that uses semi UV because again, we can see it. So it's not all the way in the UV. We can see it, and it's pretty bright. You have a temperature gun that reads the infrared heat energy, thermal energy that's coming off of surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a tool. You can find cold spots. You can find hot spots, where
does not
air
mean
is
ghosts.
coming in. No, I mean, you can find when a machine is overheating, like where's the hot spot in it. Great tool, but to find ghosts, there's so many problems with it, depending on the rules. Because again, you have to realize that ghosts have different rules depending on the person you talk to.
Because if something is objective, it is independently verifiable by anyone.
Right.
And this is inherently subjective.
Yeah, through and through. You have a voice recorder. Again, it's a real device. It's handy for taking notes, for recording things, interviews, phone calls, sounds of nature. But is there any data that shows that it actually records some kind of sound from a ghost? How does a ghost make a sound? Doesn't have any. It's not physical. Well, again, depending on the rules,
Depending on the
how do you
rules.
make you got to establish the mechanism by which a ghost would make a noise before you say we can record that.
Yeah.
What else? We have a broken radio.
A broken radio.
We have
that
it's
one's
a
my
radio.
favorite.
It's a radio. And what does a radio do? It receives radio broadcasts and puts them through a speaker so that we can hear them. That's it. If you're cycling through the stations, you're doing exactly what the radio is supposed to do. Nothing more. Us old school people, remember the dial? Manually change the channel. That's it. You could go back and forth and look, and make all the same sounds that does. Nobody thought it was a ghost. It was just waiting to get the good station in. Is that it? We did everything. Oh, and finally the EMF meter, which is, I mean, again, it's a tool. It takes measurements. It's accurate. That's another thing. It's accurate, plus or minus usually like 5% at 50, 60 hertz. So that's your mains. Your main power coming into the house comes in at 60 hertz in the Americas, and then 50 hertz everywhere else. But if you have a generator in your house, when your refrigerator kicks on, it changes the frequency. You can see it sometimes when the lights dim or you get a little brighter or something like that. Anytime something kicks on, you're going to have a dip and then a spike, which can spike this. That'll make that reading go up or down.
I'm really bothered, actually.
I can tell.
Like the fact that that we're offering this to young people who are impressionable, thinking that this is going to help them find spirits,
right?
As opposed to helping instill curiosity and critical thinking and skepticism. It's honestly really heartbreaking. It seemed like a great opportunity because it would be awesome if ghosts were real, right? If that's what you want, is to let's see if we can test if ghosts are real, but then actually use critical thinking and solid investigative skills like you do. Is this a ghost? What else could it be? What can we test here? Is the evidence here measurable? Is it repeatable? It seems like a great opportunity to actually teach the real stuff. And instead what we're doing is encouraging kids to not be skeptical and to just believe in something and confirm their bias. And then they think this is what science is.
Right. What really bothers me is that there is no skeptical or scientific literature included with this.
Yeah.
You have the manuals. So they give you all the manuals to the devices. You have the page that's in a sleeve that's about the ghost hunting kit. You have instructions from a ghost hunting online store giving you tips that are based on beliefs. They're not based on science or actual investigative methods. It's just tips that are just bullshit.
I suggest we put some Skeptical Inquirer and CFI info inside this box when we return it.
I agree. I definitely agree.
So there's 7 things on there.
This is my issue. So on the screen, which I'll put a screenshot up, there is no link to any kind of skeptical or scientific information. There is no information in the kit itself. It comes in a bag. The only thing that I see is a warning for infrared thermometer, and it's safety note for the laser radiation. Avoid direct eye contact. Can cause serious eye injury, which is good. I mean, hey, props to you for putting the warning on the outside so, kids can see it. But there is no science to this whatsoever or included with this. And that bothers me because when I initially contacted the branch, one of the branch managers, and I forget exactly who, I'm going to try and find the email. I was told that they were going to include links to various places where they can learn information, and it's not here.
Now, I know, didn't you say when you first contacted them, they're like, oh yeah, we have one coming, and they were super excited because you were interested. And then you told them why you were interested, and the conversation shifted a bit. And that must have been when they said that they were going to include that information.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's because I said where I'm from and who I work for, or if they were just, yeah, I think it's basically that. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak for them because I did not just ask them like, well, why are you saying that? I didn't do that. And again, the staff was really nice. They gave me information, but I think they may have been concerned because it was an organization like this that's looking into it. And maybe they thought, oh, I'll just add this on and hopefully we'll put it in there. But it was a different branch that I was talking to, not the branch where I got this from.
Well, so let me ask you, why would you tell them, what is the harm of this kit?
So I think the harm is that, well, one, you're not teaching critical thinking. I mean, right from the start, we read something off from that paper.
Here. Yeah, it's important to believe.
You have to believe for it to work. And that's simply not true. That's demonstrably, did I say that right? I can't say that word.
Demonstrably.
False.
Yeah, yes,
demonstrably.
It's
false.
Supposedly.
False. It's false. And it bothers me that they're putting that out there because now you are teaching kids, because kids are probably going to be the ones that look for this, or teenagers, or because not any ghost hunter per se is going to be an adult.
Can I see the bag?
Yes.
Okay.
And they probably have their own equipment and they're not going to need this. This is all the basic stuff that you would have in any kind of kit. So there's no reason for an adult to rent this out, except if you're doing a review like this. So it's mostly going to be kids. And we have evidence of that because the recordings on the audio recorder from the last people are from little kids, like little kids, not teenagers. We're talking like 10.
Oh, I thought they were
maybe,
younger.
or even younger. Yeah. So I think you're promoting an item with these beliefs instead of science. I mean, there's a missed opportunity here.
Yes.
There's a big missed opportunity. They could include information about the devices, what they really do, how they really work, and that here's the idea, here's the beliefs, according to paranormal people, enthusiasts. Don't call them investigators, because most of them are not. But here's the beliefs. But here's the science behind it. And maybe include like little things that it can do. Tests. Hey, take this EMF meter and go up to a fan and see how it works. See what kind of readings you get. And look at this amazing thing where you come off like a foot or 2 feet and it almost goes away. Make science fun. Yes. And we can do that. And it just is such a missed opportunity.
Reframe this from a pseudoscience kit to actually understand what it is that it's doing, question what it is that you're testing, try to do an actual investigation, figure out what else it could be, and think about it. Don't just believe.
Right.
But it can still be fun. And if you find a ghost, you know what? You're going to win a Nobel Prize. So please document that, right? Otherwise, this is pseudoscience.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to fool you. It's going to give you ideas and give you a train of thought that is just false. It's going to have you believing in things that are not real. And that's a shame because now you're at a disadvantage when you're going out there and talking to people that actually do know what they're doing and do know what this equipment is for. To be blunt, you're going to look like a fool.
And you've also investigated enough to see the harm of believing in this stuff.
Yeah. People sink thousands of dollars into this. They spend like every weekend doing this, which is cool. I mean, if that's your hobby, so be it.
Well, I'm not
But-
even talking about the ghost hunters. I'm talking about the people like the woman in Canada that thought there was a ghost,
Right.
and like she
Right.
was afraid to sleep in her house.
Yes, because people came with equipment. A psychic, go figure, was using ghost hunting equipment because I guess they couldn't psychic. But yeah, it came in and told the woman that she really did have a ghost based on these same devices, and she couldn't sleep in her own bedroom. I mean, that's a case. You can look on skepticalinquirer.org and see that article and read up on it. It's putting fear in people because if you're using this and you do find something in your own house, now what's going to happen?
Yep.
Is that going to freak you out where you're like, oh, I can't sleep at night. I'm going to go get a shower. Oh, I don't want to be naked because there's a ghost in here.
I know.
Who knows? Like, what's going on? And, you don't want to do other things because you think a ghost watching.
I'd like you to address one more thing, which is you just need to be more open-minded.
Right. No. Yeah, I am open-minded. And you know what? Like, that's a good thing to say, because being open-minded means being open to consider new information. Doesn't mean you have to accept it. It means you consider it, and then you evaluate that new information. You test it, you research it, you see if it's valid, and if it is, then yes, you incorporate it into your worldview. If it is not, then you reject it. Simple as that.
Open-mindedness does not mean accepting without evidence.
Right. And by contrast, being closed-minded are the people that say, I don't care what anyone says, I'm going to believe what I want to believe.
Ghosts are real. That is not open-minded.
No, that is absolutely 100% closed-minded. So with that said, I think we can wrap this up. I think we did a pretty good review. I would say, treat this as a novelty if you get it, but anyone watching this is probably not going to get it. But if your kids want it, use it as a teaching opportunity. Look these things up, teach them what it really does, and that the claims that are being made don't hold water.
And I might go out on a limb here and say, if you see schools, libraries pushing this, kids interested in this, share this video, right? Share good information to help them understand what critical thinking looks like, and to contextualize this with what it is. So share this information, pass it on, and let's teach kids good thinking and how to be scientists, not pseudoscientists.
Yeah. Never stop learning.
Never stop learning.
It's right there. But what are you doing? It's up there. Stop it. Stop it. All right. Take care, guys. See you in the next episode.
Thank you.